Are you pointing down towards?
Okay, here I'm going to do a pan shot in video so we can do frame grabs if need be.
I have the secret truth. My name is George Butler. I've been broadcasting nearly 8 years.
So where have you come? How near are you?
Farrell, he's George Butler, he's an old radio host for Alex Jones, and he was a senior army intelligence officer in Berlin. And Farrell, he also cooped out of the AWACS. He went AWOL of AWACS.
Well, I didn't. I was actually outed.
Right.
And I
well,
had,
because
had
you
to
protested.
I had to keep my mouth shut I became a conscientious objector, and I couldn't tell them why. And then so they put me out of the service. Yeah, I became a conscientious objector. So what happened is it's a little bit of a story, but we shot down 2 of our own helicopters and covered it up using one of my airplanes. I was in charge of 6 AWACS aircraft. We shot down 2 of our own helicopters and covered it up, and no investigation or anything. So that's when I realized that we weren't a legitimate legal process. We weren't lawful. We were mercenaries for mafia.
Outside of that.
Yeah, and that's when all of a sudden I could not conscientiously, serve in the American military anymore. I couldn't serve in the military, period. And then I got out of I got out of the military. They discharged me, a medical discharge, saying that I was delusional.
No, I've been
that's because I didn't tell them what my problems were. And then when I got out, I got a small motorhome and started traveling around, trying to find out, how the world really works. Because if you're my life fell apart. If you're gonna put your life back together, you've got to find out what rules apply in order to put your life together, because I was careful to put my life together real well. And then after 15 years in the military, I found out, hey, it's all a lie.
I think we had
and so,
there's another life.
Yeah, I started finding out, what the real rules in life were, and I actually found out that the whole world is run by a big company. A company owns the banks that run the stock exchanges around the world, and the banks, control the countries around each exchange in those economies.
Oh, yeah.
And they have the rules. They have the politicians work for them and keep all of us people blind. They create stories for us to live in, imaginary worlds for us to live in, when they're actually doing their own world up there is invisible to us. Yes. Like, for example, 1991, when G.H.W. Bush was standing up saying, "I see a new world order coming into view," his partners were at that time buying stocks, Soviet industry and energy and, oil stocks from the Soviet Union, using counterfeit money, counterfeit securities and things. 10 years later, those securities came due. And so they had to trade them again. And in order to keep a background check from occurring on those securities, billions of dollars of securities, they had to do a disaster so that it would give a pretext for the Federal Reserve to stop background checks on security trading, securities exchange. So the Federal Reserve suspended, background checks for 15 days after 9/11, 2001. And then all of those billions of dollars for the securities were retraded. In other words, it was laundered. Counterfeit Russian money was laundered by the Bushes and their cohorts. It's a dynasty. And Obama's part of that dynasty. Clinton's part of the dynasty.
They say that the real event took place
but
crazy days.
Right, yes. And so basically America's military is the mercenary for the guys that these people obey orders.
Yeah.
These people don't make decisions. They receive their marching orders, and they work the logistics out as to how.
They're below the committee of 313.
Yeah, right.
I checked it out. So they're only like sharing ideas. Okay, what direction can we go? And
Yeah, how can we do this? What resources we need to, which economy we're going to plunder, which economy we're going to build up,
Yeah.
It's all compartmentalized, and they only know as much as they need to know.
Yeah.
If you don't need to know more, you're not told more.
Well, that's because
But
they want to keep everybody in the dark, so that they won't. Basically, like the people that were here at the Bilderberg meeting, not all of them are psychopaths. Quite a few of them are, but not all of them are. But the non-psychopaths, if they found out they were following a psychopathic agenda, they would find ways of removing the psychopaths from amongst themselves. And then all of a sudden the policies would become humane. Instead of like Fukushima, they're not helping fix Fukushima. It's going to poison the North Pacific. Within 15 years, 20 years, all of the Pacific Ocean will be poisoned. Within 50 years, they're saying it's going to take a minimum of 50 years just to fix Fukushima. By that time, all of the large animal life in all of the oceans will be dying from low-level radiation exposure. Now, if they put a barrier where water could flow only one way at the mouth of the Mediterranean, they might be able to save the Mediterranean Ocean. But the rest of the oceans...
You're talking the entire oceans.
Right.
Affected by Fukushima.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they start a war, like if there's an EMP over like America, like 1/3 or 1/4 of the reactors in America will become Fukushimas, and then all that radiation draining into the Gulf and Atlantic and Pacific Ocean.
That's what makes me wonder. I mean, are these guys even thinking about their own lives? I mean, how can they survive without the rest of civilization? They can't really.
They keep trying to tell us that people living under different systems is not good. We need to brainwash everyone and put them all under one system. That's hogwash. All of them, summed down, they're all pathocracies. They're all systems, bureaucracies run by psychopaths. It doesn't matter what kind of system you live under. The only thing that matters is whether you have loving people, running things to serve the public, the common good. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter whether you're under a dictatorship, a communism, a monarchy, a theocracy,
But you want the end goal is freedom.
Yes.
Politics itself is not the end goal. The end goal of it is freedom.
We are born, our genetics wires us to be creative, living, loving souls. But if you're compromised, your creativity, you cannot be creative. And you can't truly love when you're not truly free. Because you're always compromised. And it's that darkness that eats away different parts of your soul,
It's subtle too.
Yeah.
So most people, it's hard to tell. They put your finger on it.
A lot of people want to find a warm, cozy little hole to try to hide in.
Everyone would.
Okay, I want to drink alcohol to where my brain stops working. And I'll hide in my hole, and maybe the world will go away. Instead of us using our imagination, exercising love, and studying the problems and finding ways to fix things and making things better. That's the way we're wired.
Yeah.
Love, that's upholding justice, mercy, good faith. That's the essence of love. But the necessity that these three principles be upheld, those are also the authorizing principles for what's called natural law. These are sociological principles. They're like the laws of physics, expressed in physical nature. But these laws of sociology, they're laws of principles of interaction. It's necessary because if I violate justice, mercy, good faith, then anything that, our interactions, we might be in conflict or even warfare with each other. And that's what gives our social law or natural law, the law of love, its authority. And the thing with our law of love is you don't even have to know what the law is if you're a loving person. You uphold it anyway.
You know it's
programmed into the subconscious.
It helps to know about these natural laws.
Right.
Ask most people, they can tell you. Natural laws, natural rights.
They know it in their gut,
Yeah, in their
even
gut.
though they haven't defined it.
No. And that means that intellectually they can be deceived.
Right. And stuff. So I'm sorry, I went on a little rant there, but
No, it's good.
But I think that humanity can be immunized from psychopaths by the 1/3 of people that love, that basically care. Okay, there was a test, a social test that was done, like a psychological test that was done, where someone was put in a room with wires hooked to them, and they're an innocent party, and then behind a one-way mirror, and in a soundproof room behind a one-way mirror, there was someone put at a table that had controls where they could shock the person in the other room. And the person with the controls was in a room with someone else who was a perceived authority figure. So now the perceived authority figure would give orders to the controller to do this or do that, and gradually the intensity of the harm that they were doing to the innocent person was slowly increased. 2 out of 3 people would keep following orders from the perceived authority figure until they were ordered to inflict lethal harm.
Yeah. Because universities study, right?
Yes, it's been done over the last 150 years. It's been done. Many societies, many different types of people. It's universal. It's constant. So it's written in human nature. So what that proves is 1/3 of humans, frankly, give a damn. They feel responsible for what they're doing. They will not allow somebody else to tell them to do something that's against their values.
1/3. That sounds about right. Yeah. General idea.
So what you have is the 1/3 of people that give a damn and are loving, and then you have that small element who are the psychopaths. In some indigenous cultures where psychopaths are weeded out because everybody has to produce and work to help everybody survive, psychopaths don't do that. They feed off other people's labor and things like that. But that indigenous societies, it's as small as 2% of the population are psychopaths. But in most organized societies, it's between 4, and then whenever societies start becoming oppressive, when psychopaths start working their ways into positions of authority, then the amount of psychopaths in the population starts becoming 6, 8, 12%. And usually by the time the population, the amount of psychopaths gets up to 15%, then the society self-destructs.
Let's collapse.
Yeah.
Fall in Rome.
That's because the psychopaths, since it's their nature to leave a trail of destruction behind themselves, if you've got 15% of the people destroying the lives of everyone else around them, that means that one psychopath only has to destroy the life of 6 people for 50% of the population's lives to be destroyed. Actually, it's more than 50% of the population will be affected. But
Everyone's affected. It's all holistic.
right, and then what happens is there's a civilization collapse, a massive die-off. There becomes a social war where the 1/3 that gives a damn goes to war against the psychopaths, and then there's the middle people that are neither psychopathic nor do they give a damn. They're just there. A lot of them are recruited by the psychopaths to make war against the empaths, the ones that are loving. And then after that war is resolved, the ones that remain is a little over 1/3 of the loving people. And then the psychopaths are few and far between, and then they can rebuild society because most of the people that really don't care are recruited by the loving to help build society. But as the number of psychopaths increases, then the people that don't care, more and more of them are recruited by the psychopaths. But the primary target of the psychopath is the loving person, because they can feed more resources off a loving person, because a loving person cannot comprehend the possibility that the psychopath even exists.
Reflect and we tend to see other people as we see. And we think we would never do anything evil, so we think others like that.
Right. What we do, since if we see a blank personality, then what we do is we take our our self-image and project our self-image. Oh, they're just picking up the logs or something, or?
I think they're picking up the walls.
Okay.
They were placed Tuesday, I think.
So my proposal is we try to educate the 1/3 of the population that are loving and caring. Educate them about the presence of psychopaths, how to identify psychopaths early before the psychopath knows he's been identified, and before the loving person has been compromised by the psychopath. And preserve the value and love that's in that 1/3 of the population, and empower them so that when the 2/3 of the population then are raped, plundered, pillaged by the psychopaths, then the 2/3 of the population will start listening to the 1/3 of the population how to fix things. And it'll disempower the psychopaths, the people in positions of authority. For example, the people in the Bilderberg, they will look around amongst themselves and they will start removing the psychopaths from amongst them. You don't need wars, you don't need revolutions. All you need is the gradual social change that will occur by weeding out the psychopaths. And then, the corrupt bureaucracies and things we have like the United Nations, it's just a corporate front for a commercial takeover of all of the nations of the world. It's the company takeover. The British East India Trading Company, they dropped that big long name and now today it's the company. And the Bilderbergs, they represent basically the primary stockholders of the major banks, exchange banks around the world that control the stock exchanges and control the nations and economies around the world. And like the CIA works for the company, everybody knows that. Well, Mossad works for the company. Islamic Brotherhood works for the company. Al Qaeda works for the company. Yeah, they're fabricated enemies. They all work for the company. That's so they can churn up the populations, make them more exploitable. It'll increase trades on the stock exchange, so the banks can do that. It'll increase stresses in the societies so that they can secretly sneak in the illegal drugs, and then, hey everybody, here's illegal drugs. And so the stupid, rebellious people say, the world is messed up, so I'm not going to obey the world, so I'm going to go out and buy drugs because it's illegal.
So actually the two guys who gave interview to Finnish News, they were actually doing something good for their own
It's very you see, that's sometimes there's conflicts within their own rank. Come on, right? And it's these social moral values that they themselves are wrestling with. And if the young, see, when I was young, I would rant and rave and everything. I would protest against police. I'd get arrested, thrown in jail, and shot at and tased and everything. And I've got stuff like that posted on YouTube. But the young people, you're young and vital, you have energy, a whole life in front of you, and your imagination is crisp and full of ideas. You have a whole life of productivity, to help humanity and everything in front of you. If we can pass on some of this wisdom that it took us decades to learn, and help you not waste your efforts in fruitless things, help you to be able to identify the psychopaths in the bureaucracies and those that are not psychopaths, empower those that are not psychopaths, and help weed out, cut the resources, feeding and supporting those that do have psychopaths, find out who's backing them up and things like that, and apply pressure to those that are backing them up.
It's about applying the wisdom you've got.
Right.
You don't have to just know, you can also use the knowledge.
Correct, yes. See, that is the way we can bring the world back.
It's like the quote, all it takes for tyranny to flourish is for good men doing nothing.
Yeah, the only thing, you see, they thrive on separation. That's schizoiding. If you read a book called Ponerology, It's a wonderful book. It's secret knowledge. It's truly secret knowledge. Ancient Babylonian slave driving techniques.
Oh, my mentor, he also mentioned that about the ancient Babylonians.
Say it again.
It's Ancient Babylonian slave driving techniques.
And the title?
Do you really think
Okay, now this book, the people that wrote the book, they did not know about the ancient Babylonian slave driving techniques. But it was a secret society that was formed at a Polish university in the early 1920s. There was about a dozen students. They saw when the Marxists were coming in, taking over society, taking over the universities, they saw strange things happen around them, strange things happen in their government and society and things. Hey-ho! And so they decided that they would all study these events, study this sociology. And so each of them went off in their different directions in their own country, and they all focused, did research and study in their part, of the field. And then they combined their findings, and they were going to become all co-authors of a big book called Ponorology.
Ponorology.
P-O-N-O, P-O-N-O, Ponorology, R-O-L-O-G-Y. Correct. This man has a copy of that book in PDF format.
It's hard to get.
Something must be wrong.
It's a rare book.
Oh no, it's actually, I think you can actually buy it for like $15 now.
Available on Google? Maybe?
I doubt it, but I think it's eBay or something. Okay, since I don't know if you're local or not.
I live just outside of Coppenhagen.
Okay, then he lives here.
Oh, okay.
Yes. His name is Daniel.
Everything. So, Supreme Court President Fernando Bosomato actually wrote in his memoirs that the Bilderberg group were directly responsible behind the stay behind Gladio killings. That is NATO. So that was a new thing, So I mean, it's not a talking club then, I mean,
many people get caught up in talking about the details.
Yeah.
I try to find the core issue, the nervous system.
Yeah.
Because if we can find the nervous system, then we can fix it. And this is the solution.
It's the cause of the movement. Yeah.
Since 1992, that's when I woke up.
That's a long time.
No, he saw a chemical illegal operation in Turkey where they bombed with chemical weapons and they bombed their own American planes, right?
Well, they shot down two of our own helicopters.
Helicopters.
Yeah, and they dumped chemical weapons on a Kurdish village in southeast Turkey and stuff. That was the fall of '92.
Who?
The fall of 1992, they dumped chemical weapons on a Kurdish village in southeast Turkey.
The Turkish government.
And it was a cover-up, yes.
Yeah.
And we ended up shooting down two of our own Black Hawk helicopters to cover it up and stuff. So.
Oh, that's why you took me down. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I got out of the military and stuff. So
22 years ago.
yeah.
I denied the military. I joined the civil defense instead. Maybe there was a cause. I didn't know.
Understood. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you see, the people with usually the best hearts are the ones that become, the most avid.
I sense also
there's
a lot of
soldiers,
co-intel and a lot of paranoia and
avid mercenaries for
justice, freedom, what have you.
It takes a lot of sacrifice to do it.
But of course it warrants it also, but it also creates a message.
Okay, I'm going to check my camera here. It only records for half an hour. Oh, it's 23 minutes. Oh, well thank you. It's been. I appreciate your putting up with my ranting and raving.
No, it's always interesting.
You know Bob Proctor from The Secret, and then how I think. You don't know Bob Proctor?
Bob Parker. No,
Proctor.
Oh, Proctor.
Yeah. Who's
I like hugs. I like hugs. Hello.
Girlfriend.
I've been in Bob Proctor's coaching for 13 months. Some of his program comprised to 13 months. So it's a quite intense coaching program. So you get a different point of view on, if you step outside the whole system, and you get a totally different view on, you know, human beings and the system, like Bilderberg, you know, everything else. Then you sort of like get your own ways and trying to enlighten people about, okay, you can do this. I can show you though, but you have to walk through it yourself. So that's.
Well, excellent. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off because there we go. About 25 minutes.